going forward was, this kind of came up this week with in the news, was Project 2025. And what happened was the BET Awards, the Black Entertainment Channel, they had their big awards, and one of the actresses got up there. I forget her name. She's a great actress, though. But she got up and she said something about this at the BET Awards, and it was kind of amazing that she did this, and I think it was great. But here's Chris Hayes on MSNBC, and I just want to show you this clip real quick, and then we'll jump back in.
Project and its proposals, thanks to warnings like this one from host Taraji B. Henson at this week's BET Awards.
Pay attention. It's not a secret. Look it up. They are attacking our most vulnerable citizens. The Project 2025 plan is not a game. Look it up.
According to some reports, the project actually began trending.
So yeah, so she did a great job by illustrating that, and it started trending because of that, and it's good because a lot of people should be looking it up. It is pretty dangerous and pretty scary what it is. So we're going to look a little bit about this and what they're talking about doing with this project, and I'm going to let Chris Hayes take it a little bit from there, just to kind of give you a sense of what the Republicans, the Trump people are trying to do if he wins. This is what they want to do with the government.
There is this nakedly authoritarian plotting, like the plan to weaponize the Department of Justice as a tool directly under the control of Donald Trump. Quoting from the document itself, the DOJ falls under the direct supervision and control of the President of the United States as a component of the executive branch. Litigation decisions must be made consistent with the President's agenda.
Okay, so that means the President gets to decide who gets investigated and who gets charged. And it has to be with his agenda, not based on justice or by dispassionate third parties. So it's basically weaponizing the police, the Department of Justice.
By the way, Justice John Roberts just endorsed that in the 6-3 immunity decision, so they've got carte blanche on that. What it means is that Donald Trump directs the Department of Justice. There is no independence. There's no firewall. He tells them what to do, who to prosecute, who to defend, and the like. And I think this portion of Project 2025, the authoritarian plots to purge the civil service, replace it all with MAGA loyalists, like deep down into the government, is getting most of the attention, and for good reason. But there's so much more to Project 2025, including, again, a whole bunch of fringe, hard-right culture war stuff. So, for instance, unsurprisingly, the document calls for a full-out, whole-of-government approach to the assault on reproductive rights on women. For conservatives to gratefully celebrate the greatest pro-family win in a generation, overturning Roe v. Wade. It includes an effective abortion ban by calling for the FDA, right? They're going to appoint people to the FDA who suddenly announce, oh, you can't have a medication abortion. Reverse.
So part of what he was talking about before, and I want to get into this. So what they're saying is right now there are two kinds of employees in the government. There are, especially in the executive branch, there are people that are appointed by the president. They're political appointments. Those people tend to go with the outgoing administration, and the new people coming with the incoming. They're all hired. That's, a few thousand people, 4, 5, 10,000, whatever it is. The vast majority of employees in the executive branch are non-political employees that are appointed there, that are specialists or experts, or they've just worked in the field forever. And those people cannot typically be just fired. Now, what they're saying is we're going to take a lot of those people out and replace them with people that are only loyal to the president. So then they'll get to make decisions. So, for example, and he gives a great example there. For example, the Food and Drug Administration, right? Right now, you can get abortion pills for, the mail-in stuff. The Supreme Court allowed it and whatnot, so it's legal. It's part of your rights. Now they can just have the FDA loyalists, for whatever reason, just make something up and go, well, we deem that they're too dangerous, so we're just going to make them illegal, carte blanche. Then the FDA will just restrict them. And then you can't get abortion pills. They're going to do the same thing with public education. It's kind of like they tried to do before with Betsy DeVos. They're going to put somebody in there. They sit there and go, well, look, we don't like public schools. We're going to take all the funding for public schools, and we're going to give out vouchers for private schools. So only, upper middle class kids can go to school. And all the poor kids are screwed. I mean, that's the kind of stuff they're talking about doing here.
its approval of chemical abortion drugs like mifepristone, which is used in the majority of all abortions in this country. And again, in red and blue states where abortion is legal or not. And to be clear, there's no absolutely justification for this, right? Mifepristone has been used safely for decades. This is not a scientific determination. They're going to put some apparatchik into charge of FDA to do this. Project 2025 wants to take it away, citing in part the hundreds of thousands to millions of babies whose lives have been unjustly taken through chemical abortion. The document goes further than FDA approval, calls on the Department of Justice to criminalize sending the pill through the mail under the Comstock Act, an archaic anti-obscenity law from the 19th century, which has been rendered largely unenforceable in subsequent decades. In addition to the abortion pill, Project 2025 also wants to strip the mandate for free emergency contraception from Obamacare. And look, Republicans are not going to stop until they have all but eliminated access to reproductive health care in this country, full stop. They're also, not surprisingly, committed to stopping the enormous seismic green energy transition to doom us to the most catastrophic consequences of climate change. The document refers to attempts.
So, before we get into climate change real quick, I want to go back to reproduction, because the FDA could then say, well, look, we think condoms are unsafe. We think the pill is unsafe. And they really want to do this. Because once you have toadies, little yes men in place like that, in those positions that aren't, people that are permanent there, that are non-political, or supposed to be non-political, then you can just, whatever I say goes. It's like being a king. Whatever I decree is law. So I can just tell that guy, hey, just say this. So it's a fake democracy. It's a faux democracy. It's kind of like Russia or Turkmenistan, which is real. It's a real country, and that's really what it's like there. But yeah, they can do shit like that now. They're going to reverse the climate change stuff, which we kind of sort of talked about before. Businesses are not super thrilled about, because it's right now costing them billions a year, because climate change is dramatically hurting their ability to do commerce and business. So,
to mitigate climate change, to mitigate it as a radical climate policy. It calls for an end to the unprovoked war on fossil fuels, for the government to oppose eyesore windmills built at taxpayer expense. Document also calls for all federal laws, grants, regulations, and contracts to delete every instance of the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity, inclusion, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, reproductive health, and reproductive rights, saying they're used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights. Reproductive health. It demands the Department of Health.
I love that too. You can't say these words because they deny Americans of our First Amendment right, which is freedom of speech. But now we're going to take away words that you're not allowed to say anymore to protect your freedom of speech. Okay, yeah, whatever. It's all backwards. They're just making shit up.
Health and Human Services immediately put an end to the department's foray into woke transgender activism. And get this, I don't think people know this, but people should. Pornography should be outlawed, and the people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned.
And I'm going to end on that one, because that just shows you just how right-wing Christian nationalist crazy this shit is. They really want to make sex unsafe. They want to make women's health care impossible to get. They want to get rid of porn. Pretty soon it's going to be illegal to have casual sex at all. Premarital sex in any shape or form. I mean, they're still going to do it. They're still going to get abortions. Rich people are. They can afford it. But for the rest of us, I mean, it's like they're going to criminalize this. It's going to make it criminal just to be a person. I mean, the Supreme Court just said it was okay to criminalize people for being homeless. And that's here in Oregon, in Grants Pass. I mean, we were kind of shocked. Because how can you criminalize somebody for being homeless? You know? I mean, we're not that far back from, let's go back to like, well, I mean, they're talking about Trump's talking about putting migrants in camps. Immigrants in camps. I'm sure it's not going to be the white immigrants. But that's what we're talking about.